discussion that we had, uploaded na siya sa sa YouTube. So you can revisit our class discussion if you would like. So ayan po. So today, let me share again my screen naman. So let me share my screen. So it's already recorded. All right. So let me share my screen. All right. Ayan. Okay. So please let me know if you can see my screen now. Okay.
Yes
So
po, sir.
Yes
Visible na
po.
po.
okay. So thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So the last time, so the last two meetings we had, napag-aralan natin yung definition ng auditing. So definition ng auditing, napag-usapan natin yung assertions ng financial statements including the established criteria. Tapos, yung evidences, opinion, ano ba yung nire-render nating opinion, which is a reasonable assurance or high but not absolute assurance. So, yun yung alternative name ng reasonable assurance. Nung second class discussion natin, napag-usapan naman natin yung types of audits, pati yung mga klase ng auditors. And then, bakit kailangan ng financial statement audit? So na pag-aralan natin why there is a need for a financial statement audit and then the theoretical framework of auditing. So lahat ito napag-usapan natin the last time. Now, we will discuss about the professional standards ng auditing. So before we go deeper with the professional standards, we have to discuss first what we call the generally accepted auditing standards. 'Di ba sa accounting we have what we call the GAAP. So may GAAP sa accounting, sa auditing naman GAAS. So lagay natin dito GAAP sa accounting. Ayan. GAAP sa accounting and then GAAS naman sa auditing. So, itong mga terms na to, yung GAAP and GAAS, inadapt natin yan sa Amerika. Kasi noon, ang fina-follow natin nung wala pa tayo, nung mga bata pa yung mga professors natin dati, ang ginagamit nila is US GAAP. And then, US GAAS. Now, nag-deviate na tayo from US GAAP, ang sinusunod na natin IFRS. That's why we have our own PFRS and PAS. So, ganun na rin sa ating auditing standards. So, we follow international standards on auditing, also known as ISA. So, counterpart sa atin, PSA. So, here, we have what we call the GAAS, the Generally Accepted Auditing Standards. Ang Generally Accepted Auditing Standards nahahati sa tatlo. Meron tayong tinatawag na General Standards. So, ano yung General Standards naman? So, meron din tayong Standards for Fieldwork. So, Standards of Fieldwork. So yeah, we have here the standards of fieldwork. And then last one is the standards on reporting, 'di ba? So kasi 'di ba ang pinaka main talaga natin, main objective natin for auditing is to give an opinion through issuance of an opinion report. So kailangan may standard covering the standards on reporting. So yeah, we have the general standards, standards of fieldwork, and then standards on reporting. Nakikita po ba ng lahat yung ating screen? Nababasa naman po ba?
Yes, sir.
Yes po.
Okay. So, thank you. Kasi syempre, kailangan i-consider din natin yung iba nating classmates na cellphone yung ginagamit. So, ano yung meron sa general standards under the generally accepted auditing standards? Kapag iniisip natin yung general standards, think of the word tip. Diba? So pag general standards, isipin nyo lang tip. So ano yung tip? Una, technical training and proficiency. So yun po yun ha, yun yung pinakauna. So una, technical training and proficiency. Ikalawang, general standards, independence. At ikatlo, professional due care. Yan. So these are the three general standards under generally accepted auditing standards. So sinashort lang natin ha, binibrief, kino-concise lang natin yung mga general standards. Lahat ng standards na to, mahahaba yan. Statement lahat yan. Pero dito, for the purpose of discussion, para mas matandaan natin, tip ang isipin natin. So ano yung technical training and proficiency? Ano po yung technical training and proficiency? Anyone from the class? Bakit kaya part ng general standards ang technical training and proficiency? Yes, Gab. Yes, Gab.
Yes, sir. So kapag sinabi po nating technical training and efficiency, dito po papasok yung mismong auditor or yung maggagawa nung or magpe-perform nung act na or ng examination na dapat meron siyang enough knowledge and equip siya with the technical training and proficient siya sa pag-perform ng auditing po.
Alright, so tama po yun, no? Kapag sinabi kasi nating technical training and proficiency, dapat ang auditor, technically, they are trained well and very proficient pagdating sa auditing. Dapat alam nila, di ba? Hindi ka naman pwedeng maglagay ng auditor na hindi trained, hindi proficient in terms of auditing standards, auditing procedures. So dapat ang nag-audit, yung auditor, well-trained siya, well-equipped, yung as if alam niya yung ginagawa niya. So yun yung isang standard under the general standards ng GAAS. So technically trained, so tayo kapag naging auditor tayo, hindi tayo isasabak sa fieldwork, sa pag-audit kung hindi tayo trained to become auditors. So kung naging CPA na kayo or graduate na kayo, then you work with auditing firms o kaya companies kung saan merong internal audit, bago kayo isabak sa audit fieldwork, you must have at least training, 'di ba? Meron kang training, proper training, formal training, at least alam mo kung paano yung gagawin. Hindi pa pwedeng nilagay ka lang doon. Ang alam mo lang is accounting. Tapos wala kang idea on how to do audit during the fieldwork, 'di ba? Audit fieldwork. So kailangan technically trained ang auditor and then very proficient siya in terms of auditing standards, auditing procedures, audit planning, lahat, 'di ba? So that is one of your basic or general competence bilang isang auditor. So that is technical training and proficiency. So tama doon si Gab sa sinasabi niya. Dapat ang auditor is trained and proficient as well as efficient. Ikalawang general standard is independence. So bakit kaya kasama ang independence sa general standard? So anyone from the class, bakit kaya sinama? Yes, Nicole. Yes, Nicole.
Sir, kasama po yung independence sa general standards in a way na yung auditor po kailangan yung mind niya po is nakaset or meron po siyang mental attitude na maintain as an auditor, which is kailangan po walang bias and purely for job niya po yung gagawin niya.
That's correct. So tama si Nicole doon. Kasi ang independence, ibig sabihin, wala kang kinikilingan, wala kang pinoprotektahan, you are fair, you are objective, 'di ba? So para lang tong 24 oras, 'di ba? Walang kinikilingan, walang pinoprotektahan. Kasi ang ginagawa
Serbisyong
mo,
totoo lamang.
serbisyong totoo lamang bilang isang auditor. So yun yung sinasabi natin pagdating sa independence. So dapat hindi ka maiimpluwensyahan, hindi ka maaapektuhan ng ibang tao, hindi ka magiging bias, hindi mai-impair yung independence mo, hindi mai-impair yung objectivity mo. So dalawang klase merong independence. I think napag-usapan na natin to. Independence in mind, 'di ba? Independence in mind, saka independence in appearance. So ang independence in mind, ito yung pinoportray ng isang auditor kung saan hindi madaling maimpluwensyahan ang kaniyang kaisipan. Kasi you are technically trained and proficient. So, ibig sabihin, kapag merong gustong mag-influence o mag-persuade sa iyo, hindi ka madaling ma-impluwensyahan because you are independent in mind bilang isang auditor. Yung independence in appearance naman, pinapakita mo, pinoportray mo sa ibang tao, sa client mo, sa third party, that you are really an auditor at hindi ka madaling ma-intimidate, ma-persuade, ma-impluwensyahan. So yun po yung independence in appearance. So dalawa yung dapat natin palang i-maintain kapag auditor tayo. Dalawang klase ng independence. Independence in mind, independence in appearance. So, tama yung sinabi doon ni Nicole kanina, di ba? Dapat hindi tayo madaling maapektuhan sa kung ano sinasabi ng iba. Kasi alam mo naman yung ginagawa mo, tama yung ginagawa mo, meron kang set of rules and procedures na sinusundan. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-shortcut, di ba? Kasi technically trained and proficient ka. So, dapat nakadikit doon yung pagiging independent. So, that is the second general standard. So, that is independence. Next, the third general standards that we have is professional care. Yung iba tawag dyan, due professional care. Yung iba, due care. Yung iba, professional due care. Pero for the purpose of our class discussion, since gumamit tayo ng PEEP as mnemonics for general standards, we name it professional due care. So anyone from the class, bakit kaya kasama ang professional due care dito sa general standards? Yes, Shelly.
So, sir, dito naman po, kailangan, syempre po, as an auditor, kailangan po maingat po sila sa ginagawa nila or sa pag-conduct po ng audit para po maiwasan yung pagkakamali. Since yung audit opinion or yung audit report po nila, it will affect the decisions po. It will affect the decisions of users po.
Yes, that's correct. No? So, lahat ng klase ng audit na ating gagawin, whether you are an external auditor, internal auditor, o kaya government auditor, you must exercise due care or due professional care. So tama din sinabi ni Gab, di ba? Exercising professional judgment and professional skepticism. Dapat professionally skeptic tayo. So, yung due professional care, kaya nga may word na care, maingat tayo, di ba? So, due care. So, hindi yan joker, due care. So, you are giving due care, higit na mas maingat. So kung sa batas, anong tawag doon sa law on obligations and contract, you are giving due diligence, 'di ba? Sa pag-aalaga nung determinate thing o kaya indeterminate thing. So ganun din parang bilang isang auditor for your services, para tama yung iyong maibigay na opinion, kailangan i-exercise mo yung due care naman on your part. Maingat ka, hindi ka basta-basta na magbibigay ng opinion ng walang sapat na ebidensya. Kung may nakuha kang isang ebidensya, kailangan masuportahan pa yun ng iba pang evidences. So hindi ka lang magre-rely sa isang evidences. Kasi a set of evidences might affect your overall assessment ng financial statement. So, hindi ka lang naka-refer dun sa isang evidences, marami ka pang evidences na titignan. 'Di ba? Just to reassess, reconfirm, revalidate your initial assessment. So, yun yung pagiging due care. 'Di ba? So, ano pa yung sabi kanina ni Gab, nakita ko yung chat niya. Sabi ni Gab, we have to exercise professional skepticism. So, ano ba yung professional skepticism? paano masasabing skeptic ang isang auditor? So anyone from the class, paano masasabing skeptic ang isang tao? So, meron po ba? Yes, Kim. Yes, Kimberly.
Naririnig po ako?
Yes po. Apo. Pwede na
Pag sinabi pong skepticism, hindi po kayo basta-basta magsisettle lang sa isang evidence. Kumbaga, maghahanap pa kayo ng other evidence na magsusupport dun sa, kumbaga, magiging basis for reasonable opinion po. Parang ganun.
Yes, that's correct, no? So hindi talaga tayo dapat maniwala sa isang bagay lang, 'di ba? So tayo bilang auditor, kapag may binigay sa atin, may pinakita sa atin, hindi tayo agad-agad maniniwala. Kailangan ma-confirm natin sa sarili natin or may makita pa tayong ibang ebidensya. So tayo skeptic yung ipinapairal natin. So pag sinabing skeptic, you always exercise questioning of the mind. So, lagi kang mapagduda, you're always in doubt. So, yun daw yung ibig sabihin ng professional skepticism. So, ang auditor pala laging mapagduda. So, since kahit negative yung ibig sabihin nun, para mapagduda lagi naman tong auditor na to, ang arte, di ba? Kailangan, ang dami pang dapat hanapin. Pero syempre, dahil we are protecting our profession bilang isang auditor, we have to exercise or to portray our skeptic traits, professional skepticism, para hindi naman ibig sabihin na pabara-bara lang tayo na auditor. Kapag may nakuha na tayong evidence, doon na agad. We will stick to that. Maniniwala na tayo doon sa ebidensya na yun. Remember, there are a lot of evidences. And we are looking for the strongest evidences. So as we go deeper with the topics, pag-aaralan natin yung level ng evidences. Okay. So these are the general standards. So technical training and proficiency, independence, professional, due care. Actually, kung titignan nyo yung totoong statement ng generally accepted auditing standards, statement talaga yon. So let's say for example, kay technical training and proficiency. So anong sabi doon sa general standards? Ang sinabi doon, the examination is to be performed by a person or persons having adequate technical training and proficiency as an auditor. So yun yung totoong statement ng General Standard number 1. General Standard number 2, ano yung sinabi doon? In all matters relating to an engagement as an independent auditor, you must exercise an independence in mental attitude which is to be maintained by the auditor. So yun yung sinasabi ng General Standards number 2. Pero dito, shinortcut na lang natin para mas maintindihan natin at mas mabilis nating ma-discuss. And then, number 3, ano naman yung sabi nung yung totoong statement ng General Standards? Due professional care is to be exercised in the performance of the audit and in the performance or preparation of the report. So yun yung sinasabi for professional due care. Yun yung complete statement ng General Standard number 3. So General Standard number 1, technical training and proficiency. General Standard number 2, independence. General Standard number 3, professional due care. So shortcut, T, General Standard. So let's go now with standards of fieldwork. So ano kaya yung meron sa standards of fieldwork? So kapag narinig nyo ang standards of fieldwork, you think of the word PI. So PI. Think of the word PI. So ano yung ibig sabihin ng PI? We have planning. So we have planning. Ano naman yung isa? I stands for internal control consideration. And then E. E stands for evidential matter. So these are the 3 standards under standards of fieldwork ng GAAS. So bakit kailangan yung planning under standards of fieldwork. So anyone from the class, bakit kaya kailangan natin mag-plan under the standards of fieldwork? So anyone? Jean. Yes, Jean.
Ano po sir, kailangan po ng planning para malaman po kung yung financial statement po ng isang entity po ay nasusupervise po ng maayos. So yung auditor, kailangan po niya ng planning stage para po makapagtanong siya or meron po siyang inquiries po sir about the management kung meron pong possibility po ng mga misstatements like yung fraud po and error po doon sa within the management.
Yes, that's correct, 'di ba? So kailangan natin magplano. Bakit? Bakit natin kailangan magplano? To check, 'di ba? To check the nature of the business, nature ng client, 'di ba? Kailangan mag-conduct tayo ng background investigation sa client. So lagay natin dito. So we can conduct background, 'di ba? Background investigation about the client. Ano pa? We can place, 'di ba? We can place adequate audit staffs, 'di ba? So we can place adequate audit staffs. Siyempre kapag nagpaplano tayo, kailangan natin ilan ba yung staff members na kailangan natin sa meeting, sa audit, 'di ba? Kapag magmi-meeting tayo with clients, ilan yung kailangan natin dalhin na audit staff o junior auditors. Ilan yung kailangan kapag mag-fieldwork na. Ilan yung gagawa for reporting, for summarizing ng reports. So kasama yon sa pagpaplano. Ano pa? Siyempre kasama din sa pagpaplano yung risk assessment. Siyempre mamaya, hindi tayo nagplano, medyo grabe pala yung risk nung material misstatement nung client, 'di ba? So kung hindi natin napagplanuhan 'yon, edi hindi natin assess agad yung risk, 'di ba? The degree of risk related doon sa pag-conduct ng audit. So that is involved in the planning stage. So that's why we need adequate planning kapag magkakandak tayo ng audit, 'di ba? So I will share you something. So may papakita ako sa inyo. Alright. So ayan, this one. May papakita ako sa inyo for this is one of my client. So stop ko lang muna. This is one of my client kung saan mag-start kami ng audit kasi fiscal year sila. So let me just share my entire screen. Okay, so yan, share ko yung entire screen ko. So please let me know if you can see my screen again.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ayan. So may papakita ko sa inyo. So this one is one of my clients. So MVA Colleges Incorporated. So it's a college kung saan mag-start kami ng audit. So late na sila nagpa-audit kasi dalawang period yon. So May 31, 2020 saka May 31, 2021. So now we are planning. So my team is planning for the conduct of the audit. So syempre, isa sa requirement namin for planning an audit, makuha namin yung mga documents, di ba? So this one is our client assistance schedule. So normally yung mga auditors, they have this client assistance schedule for both the auditors and the client. That will serve as a guide para sa kanila pareho. So ito yung aming summary of audit requirements. So audit requirements for planning phase, external confirmation, list of tax requirements, summary of year-end audit requirements, saka audit completion requirement. So buo na to, ba? Buo na yan. Pero part to ng planning phase. So papakita ko lang sa inyo example. So like for example, ito yung mga kailangan namin for the start of audit. For the start of audit. So yan, we're looking for the trial balance. So not December 31. So this is May 31. So yan, trial balance. We're looking for the trial balance, minutes of meetings, amended articles. So these are the requirements that we are looking for. Ayan. And then, meron kaming status dito kung na-provide na or hindi. So yan, So if not yet provided, so naka-flag siya as red. Kung provided, kulay green. And then date received and then remarks kung merong na-receive, di ba? Or meron pang dapat hanapin. So yeah. So this is one of the transactions or processes that we will that you need to include, di ba? Bilang auditor, kailangan yung isama yan. So magkanda kayo ng planning. Ano yung mga dapat nating hanapin sa client natin? Ano yung mga dapat nating makita bago tayo mag-start ng audit fieldwork? Kasi syempre dapat ready na yon. Hindi naman pwedeng mag-audit tayo wala pa tayong nakukuha, wala pa tayong document. So nakatunga nga lang tayo pag nag-fieldwork na tayo kasi wala tayong available documents. So yun yung kailangan natin in the planning stage. At syempre, di ba, kailangan approve na ng client yung engagement agreement ninyo. Di ba? So part yun ng planning phase. Actually, pre-planning pa ngayon yung sa engagement proposal, engagement planning, pre-planning stage yun. So this planning stage na pinag-uusapan dito, ito yung nag-agree na sila with the engagement of audit services. So yan yung sa planning. Next one, di ba? Since we are in the standards of fieldwork, so shortcut is PI. Next one is internal control consideration. Nakikita na po ba ang aking screen ulit?
Yes po.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So why do we need to consider internal control in the conduct of audit fieldwork? Bakit kaya kailangan nung i-consider natin yung internal control? Yes, Luella. Yes, Luella.
Important po na i-consider yung internal control kasi yung pagkakaroon po ng effective internal control system po is nagre-reduce po siya ng possibility ng fraud and nagkakaroon din po ng free from error po.
Yes, diba? So we need to consider internal control. But let me correct you with that. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin that the financial statement is really free from error. Kasi syempre, di ba, ang binibigay natin, reasonable assurance. So that means to say, hindi natin kaya magbigay ng absolute assurance. Hindi natin masasabi na, oh, your FS is perfect. It's 100% perfect, no error. So we cannot guarantee that the financial statement is free from error. So ang sasabihin lang natin, it is fairly presented in all material respects. Kasi may mga errors dyan na hindi natin makikita. Paano natin masasabing may error na hindi makikita? Omission. 'Di ba? Kung wala siya sa record, hindi talaga natin makikita. Hindi rin kasi siya mag-a-appear sa financial statement. Wala siya sa general journal, hindi siya umabot sa trial balance, hindi rin siya umabot sa financial statement. So ibig sabihin, hindi natin talaga makikita 'yon. It's an error, it's an omission. So therefore, hindi natin masasabi that the financial statement is really free from error kasi merong na-omit. So that's why we only render free reasonable assurance. However, tama din yung sinabi ni Luella about internal control consideration. We have to consider internal control. Bakit? Kasi it will help us in assessing the risk. Kung maganda ang internal control, ibig sabihin, lesser yung error. Onti ang error. Pero hindi siya masasabing error-free. Nakukuha po ba yun? Nakakasunod po ba about doon, class?
Yes, sir.
po, sir.
All right. So if you can still hear me, please press number 1. All right. So napaka-active ng aking mga estudyante, no? So tama po 'yan. So thank you so much, no, for actively participating. So balik ulit tayo doon sa internal control consideration. So kapag okay ang internal control, kung tayo si auditor, masaya ka or hindi?
Masaya po.
Di ba? If internal control is okay, then auditor is happy. happy, 'di ba? So happy si internal auditor. Ayan. Okay, so lagay natin diyan. Ayan. So consider natin diyan. Bakit siya masaya? Bakit masaya si auditor? Kasi makakatulong ang maganda at effective na internal control para masabing lesser ang errors na may encounter at lesser ang misstatement. Hindi material yung misstatement doon sa financial statement. Pero kapag hindi okay ang internal control, masaya ba or malungkot si auditor?
Malungkot.
Malungkot po.
Malungkot si auditor. Bakit siya malungkot? Kasi nga, hindi na makakatulong yung internal control para ma-prove na okay yung financial statement, na walang error or minimal lang yung error, 'di ba? So iniisip na ni auditor na ay nako, for sure kung hindi maganda ang internal control, baka maraming error dito sa financial statement. Kasi doon pa lang sa process, marami ng loopholes, marami ng error, 'di ba? Baka nga may fraud pa diyan, 'di ba? Kasi hindi okay yung internal control. Pero kapag okay, masaya si auditor kasi makakatulong sa kanya. That's why we need to consider internal control, standards of fieldwork. The third one, under standards of fieldwork, is the evidential matter. Why do we need evidential matter under the standards of fieldwork? So, tawagin ka naman iba, si John Harold. John Harold.
Na kailangan po natin, sir, ng evidence sa standard of fieldwork kasi yung mga evidence ay gagamitin siya for other standards such as reporting po.
Yes, 'di ba? Ginagamit din natin 'yon for other standards such as reporting. Kasi yun yung basis natin for formulating an opinion. So tama doon si John Harold. So anyone, any other naman? So I think Erica is raising her hand. All right,
Hello,
Erica.
sir.
Yes po.
Dapat po yung mga evidences na mako-collect through inspection, observation, inquiries, and confirmations should be sufficient para po makapagbigay ng reasonable opinion and professional judgment. And para po maging sufficient yung mga evidences, it should be relevant and reliable.
Yes, that's correct, 'di ba? So ang sabi kanina ni Erica, kailangan yung evidences na makokolekta natin through 'di ba? Through these audit procedures. Through these audit procedures. Ano yung mga audit procedures na gagawin nila? Inspection. So inspection, ikalawa, ano naman yung ikalawa? Observation, diba? Observation, ano yung ikatlo? Inquiry, and then ikaapat, confirmation. Actually, ito ay kulang pa. Pero ituturo ko na lang to in the future habang nagdi-discuss tayo. Ayan. So IOIC pa lang to. Inquiry, inspection, observation, and confirmation. So these are the following audit procedures kung saan makakakuha tayo ng evidential matter. Yung mga evidences na pwede nating makuha through conducting inspection, observation, inquiry, and confirmation. Siyempre, pag nag-i-inspect tayo, we have our first-hand information kasi tayo yung nag-i-inspect. When we observe, we also have our first-hand information kasi tayo yung nag-observe. And then when we inquire to third parties or to the client itself, diba, we have our first-hand information. And then confirmation, normally we conduct it through third party. So these are audit procedures that gathers evidences all throughout the field work of audit. So, ano pa ang meron sa evidential matter? Kailangan yung evidence. Ano daw dapat ang evidence? Ano daw dapat ang evidence? Kailangan, para masabing okay ang evidence, ano dapat ang evidence? So, anyone from the class, ano kaya yon? Yes, Vanessa. Yes, Vanessa. Kailangan.
I think complete po.
Must be complete.
Complete.
Complete evidence. Okay, so okay din yan. Tama yan. So, iba pa. May gusto pa ako marinig. Anyone from the class? Anyone from the class? Yes, Jennifer. May nabasa ako from Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer. So, nabasa ko from Jennifer. Ang sabi ni Jennifer is, babasahin ko na lang muna. Sufficient, di ba? So, it must be sufficient. Dapat sapat, di ba? Enough. Ano pa? Aside from being sufficient, it must be appropriate, di ba? Sufficient, appropriate. Ano pa? It must be competent. Diba? Sufficient, appropriate, competent. So, complete, sufficient, appropriate, competent. So, yung complete, that is also considered as sufficient. So, being sufficient evidence, hindi ka lang magre-rely sa isang ebidensya. Kasi, para masabing sufficient yon, dapat enough yung evidences na mag-gather mo. So, nakukuha po ba? Tama po, di ba? Na ang evidence, in order to be sufficient, kailangan enough yung nag-gather mong evidences. Otherwise, it cannot be considered as sufficient. Kasi, hindi ka nag-gather ng tamang number ng evidences. So, ayan. Lagay natin. Ayan. Alright. Ano pa? Appropriate. Nakagather ka ng evidence, hindi naman appropriate. May nakita kong evidence regarding payroll, 'di ba? Regarding payroll. Pero ang ino-audit mo cash. Is that an appropriate evidence regarding audit of cash? Yung mga payroll register? Yes or no? Yes or no, class? May nakita kang payroll register. That can be considered as an evidence. Pero ang ino-audit mo is audit of cash. Will that be considered as an appropriate evidence for the audit of cash? Yes or no? What's your answer? So what's your answer, class?
No po.
So anyone? So are you exercising your professional skepticism kaya hindi kayo sumasagot agad? So the answer is no. Hindi siya appropriate kasi you're auditing the cash, di ba? So related kasi yung payroll register for salaries and employee benefits. So doon siya magiging appropriate. So hindi siya appropriate for the audit of cash. But it can be related doon sa cash disbursement, 'di ba? Sa cash disbursement alone. So hindi siya appropriate evidence pag nagkakanda ka ng audit of cash. So kailangan pala ang evidential matter mo, aside from being sufficient, it must be appropriate. Nakukuha po ba? Ano pa? Dapat competent yung iyong evidence. Paano siya masasabing competent? Paano siya magiging competent? How do you say that an evidence is competent? Kailangan ba competitive yung evidence? Nakikipaglaban? Kapag pinagtabi mo yung dalawang evidences, matatalo niya yung isang evidences, kakainin niya, magka-crumple yung paper, ganun ba? So what do you mean by competence? Yes, Gab. Yes, Gab.
Sir, pag sinabi pong competent, yung evidence po na yun is sufficient siya para, for example, may questions or may doubts yung mga magbabasa ng statement. Kapag nabasa nila yung or nakita nila yung evidence, enough siya para i-explain yung mismong statement or financial statement through that evidence po.
Yes, so tama yon, no? So parang sinasabi ni Gab na yung evidence na yon, it justifies the means, 'di ba? So parang kaya ganito yan, kaya ganyan yung nasa financial statement because of this evidence. So it really justifies what is included in the financial statement or what is presented in the financial statement. So yun yung sinasabing competent. So tama din yung sinabi ni Stacy. Nabasa ko yung sinabi ni Stacy. Dapat true and relevant siya. So totoo yun, tunay, and then relevant doon sa ino-audit mo. 'Di ba? So appropriate na siya, competent, sufficient. So we are looking for this type of evidences. Dapat lahat yan may ganyan, di ba? So in order to have uh, a reasonable assurance, di ba? So dapat may ganito tayong klase ng evidential matter. So yan yung mga nasa standards of fieldwork. Meron tayong planning, internal control consideration, evidential matter. So tulad din sa general standards, yung nasa standards of fieldwork, mahahaba din yung statements noon. So pinaikli lang natin para mas maganda, mas engaging yung discussion. Kasi kung babasahin ko lang siya, baka matulog lang kayo dyan. Walang magpipipindot ng kung ano-anong number dyan sa chat box natin. Pero babasahin ko pa rin siya. Ayan. So ano sabi nung standards of fieldwork under planning? So sabi ng GAAS, the work is to be adequately planned and assistants daw, if any, are to be properly supervised. So kasama nga, di ba? Kasama sa planning stage yung supervision ng audit staffs, di ba? Or audit assistants. And then ano pa sinabi ng standards of fieldwork under internal control consideration? Ito yung tunay na sinabi ng GAAS. There is to be a proper study and evaluation of existing internal control. So kaya kailangan kino-consider din, di ba? As a basis for reliance thereon. So as a basis for reliance. So lagay ko dito as a basis for reliance. Kasi kapag okay ang internal control, masaya si auditor kasi nga meron siyang marerelayan na sandalan. Kasi maganda daw ang internal control. Ito, maririnig niyo ulit itong reliance na to kapag pinag-aralan na natin yung internal control mismo. So, ayan. Tandaan niyo yan, yung reliance na yan. Alright. Ngayon, ano naman sabi ng standards of fieldwork number 6? Kasi ito, yung planning, standards of fieldwork number 4, standards of fieldwork number 5, standards of fieldwork number 6 naman si evidential matter. Ano sabi ng totoong statement ng GAAS for standards of fieldwork number 6? Sufficient, competent, evidential matter is to be obtained through inspection, observation, inquiry, and confirmation. So this is to afford a reasonable basis. So kaya daw pala tayo nagkakandak ng evidential or nagagather ng evidential matter to have a reasonable basis, di ba? To have a reasonable basis for an opinion. So, ang evidential matter for a reasonable basis of forming an opinion. While internal control, reliance basis. Diba? Reliance basis para masabing yung mga evidence ay okay, yung financial statement ay okay. So, yun po yun. While sa evidential matter, reasonable basis of forming an opinion. So, these are for standards of fieldwork, tapos general standards. Let's go now with the standards on reporting. So ano naman sa standards on reporting? Kung mapapansin nyo sa general standards, 3. Sa standards of fieldwork, 3 din. So ibig sabihin sa general, sa standards on reporting ay ilan din? Ilan yung sa standards of reporting? Titingnan natin, balikan natin. General standards, 3. Standards of fieldwork, 3. Ilan yung sa standards of reporting?
4 po.
4 po.
4. No? So, nililito ko lang kayo. So, 4 ang sa standards on reporting. So, tawagin natin tong GIDO. GIDO. Yung iba, ang tawag nila ACDO. So, papakita ko na lang rin sa inyo. Alright. So, okay. Ayan. Yung iba, ang tawag dyan, ACDO. Pero tawagin natin siyang GIDO. Yan, GIDO. Ayan. So ano yung pinakaunang standards of reporting? So basahin ko muna. Generally accepted accounting principles. Yan. Ano pa? Ikalawa, kailangan hindi ka inconsistent. So inconsistency. Ikatlo, disclosure. Ika-4, opinion. So these are the mnemonics that we need to remember pagdating sa standards on reporting or standards of reporting. So yan, sa GIDO muna tayo. Di-discuss natin mamaya yung ACDO. Ayan. So, bakit kailangan ang generally accepted accounting principle pagdating sa standards of reporting? So, anyone from the class, bakit kaya? Yes, Jessica.
Sir, para po malaman kung yung mga financial statements po are presented in accordance sa GAAS.
Yes, that's correct, di ba? So tama 'yon. Kailangan in accordance siya with GAAP. Kung titignan natin, babalikan natin yung verbatim ng auditing, di ba? Ang sabi dito, kailangan daw yung evidences regarding assertions, kailangan meron daw degree of correspondence between those assertions and established criteria. So, paano masasabi? Yung FS assertions, kailangan in accordance siya with the established criteria, which is the GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principle. So, meron tayong tatlong klase ng reporting framework, di ba? Under the GAAP natin, full PFRS, PFRS for SMEs, and PFRS for small entities. So that's why under the standards on reporting, we need to consider the generally accepted accounting principles. Kasi dito tayo magfo-formulate ng ating opinion kung yung FS ba nila ni client ay in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles. So nakukuha po ba? Nagigets po ba? All right. So if you can still hear me, please press number 5. Please press number 5. All right. Okay. Ayan. Okay. So if you cannot hear me, please press number 6. If you cannot hear me, please press number 6. Alright, so wala. So, ibig sabihin, lahat talaga ay nakikinig. So, yon yung first standards on reporting. Pero, tawagin natin, this is the 7th standards under the general standards on reporting. So, tama yung sinabi ng ating classmate doon. Dapat in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principle. Ikalawa, ang sabi dito, letter I, inconsistency. Bakit kaya inconsistency? 'Di ba? Bakit ito kino-consider? Bakit kino-consider ito under the generally accepted auditing principles? Anyone from the class, kailangan may mag-discuss. So anyone from the class who can discuss, why do we need to consider this inconsistency? Yes, Princess.
Dinig po ako, sir.
Yes po, apa.
Ano po, para po ma-ensure yung comparability po ng financial statement po. Kunwari, di ba pag mag-audit po, hindi mo lang naman i-audit yung within the year po. Titingnan mo rin po yung previous. Tapos, para lang po masatisfy yung auditor if there's a change po ba sa accounting principles. Tapos, kung para din po malaman niya kung material po ba o immaterial yung changes na nangyari dun sa pagpapalit po ng accounting principle.
Yes, so that's correct, di ba? So, kaya natin to kino-consider to ensure that there is a comparability and consistency. Actually, sa ibang author ng libro, di ba, kaya nga sinasabi ko sa inyo, that is, they call it ACDO kasi yung C doon, consistency. Diba? Consistency. But here, we just call it inconsistency para meron siyang vowel dito sa ating mnemonics. So, sa other books, other authors, ACDO ang tawag nila. Letter A stands for accounting principle. Diba? Accounting principles. Ayan. Pero yung sa atin, generally accepted accounting principles. So, inconsistency naman sa atin, consistency yon. Pero yung ano yung pinaka-aim natin dito, bakit inconsistency nilagay natin? Kasi we are focusing on consistency. Even sa accounting, di ba? Sa accounting standards natin, kailangan consistent yung application ng accounting standards. Kasi kung hindi consistent yung application ng accounting standards, hindi siya magiging comparable. Di ba? So, from one year to another year, sabihin natin, sa inventory tayo. Ang inventory mo last year, naka-FIFO ka. First in, first out. And then, nung year 2 mo, nag-LIFO ka naman. Last in, first out. So, it cannot compare, di ba? You cannot compare the two previous balances or the two balances of inventory. Kasi iba yung accounting principle na nilagay or in-apply in different years. So, kung mag-change ka in accounting policy from FIFO to LIFO, dapat i-restate mo yung previous year mo para maging LIFO din yung presentation in order to make it more comparable and it looks consistent, di ba? So, you apply. That's why nagkakaroon tayo ng restatement ng previous year kapag application ng change in accounting policy. So, ganun po yun. Third one is disclosure. Bakit kaya kailangan ang disclosure sa standards on reporting? Bakit kailangan yung disclosure? Anyone from our class? Yes, Adrian.
Hello po. Rinig po ako.
Opo, yes po.
So,
Pwede naman yan.
disclosure, so any additional information needed to explain the numbers on the financial statement is or must be provided po, sir, para po maiwasan po yung basta kailangan po may disclosure sa financial statement. Yun po.
Yes, so kailangan may disclosure sa financial statement. So sabi nga ni Adrian, basta. So kapag basta, ibig sabihin naiintindihan na natin, di ba? So yun yung tinuturo ko dati sa mga estudyante ko. Pag basta, alam nyo na yan. No? So for sure, kapag sinabi yun ng classmate ninyo, alam nyo na yan for sure. So addition doon sa sinabi ni Adrian, tama yun, di ba? Kailangan ng disclosure kasi part yon ng pag-issue ng financial statements. Remember, ang ating financial statements has two characteristics. Ano yung characteristics ng financial statements natin? Kung naaalala nyo pa, doon sa ating financial accounting part 3 ata yon. Two characteristics of our financial statements. Anyone from the class, kailangan alalahanin nyo yan kasi mag-auditing problems na tayo. Pagkatapos ko nito, mag-auditing problems tayo the following meeting para makapag-start na din tayo. So ano yung klase ng characteristics na meron ang financial statements? Dalawang klase yon. Dalawang Q yon. Q1 and Q2. So anyone? Yes, Erica. Yes, Erica. So isang Q muna from Erica.
Qualitative characteristics po.
Yes, that's correct. So qualitative, so lalagay ko dito ha. Meron kasing qualitative characteristics ang characteristics. Mali. Ayan. Meron kasing qualitative characteristics ang financial statement. Kung usapang qualitative characteristics, hindi mo yan makikita sa main component ng financial statement, doon sa income statement. Kasi ang nandoon puro numbers. Sa balance sheet, puro numbers. Cash flow, puro numbers. Changes in equity, puro numbers. Diba? So, ang qualitative characteristic, makikita mo yan doon sa notes to financial statements in the form of disclosure. Diba? So, yan ang isa sa component ng isang magandang financial statement or complete set of financial statement. So, in order to disclose or to have a qualitative characteristic ng financial statement, kailangan nakadisclose siya sa notes to financial statement. So, ano pa yung isang characteristic ng financial statement? Yes, Nicole. Yes, Nicole.
Quantitative po.
Yes, quantitative. So lalagay ko dito, quantitative characteristics. So lagay ko dyan, characteristics. So yung quantitative characteristics naman na yan, nakikita niyo yan sa lahat ng parts or components ng financial statement. Mula doon sa statement of financial position, so old term niya, balance sheet, statement of comprehensive income, old term niya, income statement, statement of cash flows, ang old term niya, cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, old term niya, capital changes statement, and then notes to financial statement. So lahat ng mga information doon, mostly puro quantitative information. Pero dahil meron tayong tinatawag na condensed financial statement, hindi lahat nakikita mo doon sa statement of financial position, sa income statement. Aggregated amount na kasi yon. So in order to get the details, quantitative details nung mga nakapresent doon sa income statement and balance sheet, you have to go or visit the notes to financial statement. So nandoon naka-disclose yung details. So kung makikita niyo sa balance sheet, cash and cash equivalents, note number 2. So you go with the note number 2 sa notes to financial statement, doon yung makikita yung breakdown. Cash on hand, cash in bank, petty cash fund, etc., etc. So that is a proper disclosure. So yun po yung tamang disclosure. That's why we need disclosure under the standards on reporting. So nakukuha po ba? So if it's not included in the main report, kung hindi siya naka-include doon sa balance sheet, dapat i-disclose mo siya sa notes to financial statement. So ganun po yun. Tama po yun. Another one, meron tayong disclosure sa financial statement. Ay, may papakita ko sa inyo. So let me just open another information. So may papakita ako sa inyo kung ano yung isang magandang disclosure. I have this one client. So client ko siya sa compilation services naman, hindi siya sa audit, compilation. Tapos ang auditor niya si PricewaterhouseCoopers. So hanapin ko siya, wait lang. Let's just check. So kindly wait for a moment. So habang sinesearch ko pa. So papakita ko sa inyo. AFS. So I'm looking for AFS. Ayan. CFC AFS. So before I share, kailangan makita ko muna kasi nakakahiya naman kung hindi nyo makita, kung hindi kompleto, hindi mabuksan. Alright, so let me just check. Ayan, this one. Napakita ko sa inyo. Ayan, so ayan. Then I will share my screen again. So I'll stop presenting, then I will reshare my screen again. Alright, so this one. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Alright. Alright, mabagal. Medyo mabagal. Can you still hear me, class?
Yes po, sir.
Alright, so I'm sharing now my screen. So can you see it now?
Apo, sir.
Yes
Visible na po.
po.
Alright. So you can see it now. So eto po, nakikita niyo yung financial statement?
Opo.
Yes po.
Yes po.
So ito statement of management's responsibility, isa kong client. So it's a financing company. So yan. So ang auditor nila si Isla Lipana and Company. So I am the compiler, I am their accountant, diba? External accountant, tapos si PwC yung external auditor. So if you can see here, so ito yung opinion ni Isla Lipana. Ang auditor niya ata dito si Aguirre. So let me just check, let me just confirm. Ayan, si Zaldi nga, Zaldi Aguirre. So punta tayo doon sa notes to financial statement nila. Alright. So check natin. May isa akong ipapakita. Kasi di ba meron tayong COVID pandemic. Ayan. So isa sa disclosure, magandang disclosure na nakita ko. Dahil nagkaroon ng pandemic, we need to disclose. Ayan. Sorry. Ayan. We need to disclose as well kung ano yung nangyayari. Diba? Current na nangyayari sa mga businesses. So, isang magandang disclosure na ginawa, na natuwa ako, na ginawa ni PwC is the disclosure of the subsequent events, 'di ba? Kasi ayan, coronavirus pandemic. So sinabi niya, on March 16, 2020, the Philippine government declared the entire Luzon under an enhanced community quarantine due to increasing number of coronavirus disease in the country. The ECQ mandated the disclosure of non-essential business establishment and strict home quarantine, resulting in a slowdown of economy. Measures are in place to support business continuity and manage financial risk to a minimum. So, kung titignan nyo, sinama yon ng auditor nung client as part of the disclosure. It's a qualitative disclosure. Kasi important yon bilang part ng standards on reporting, di ba? Dahil auditor tayo, we are guided by the generally accepted auditing standards. So, lahat ng disclosure na applicable, dapat i-disclose natin, including the pandemic. So, dapat i-disclose natin. So, nag-agree ba kayo na dapat i-disclose yun kahit wala siyang, kahit walang, what do you call that? Wala namang relationship doon sa financial statement.
Yes, sir. Dapat i-include rin.
Yes po.
Pero for me, meron siyang relationship naman sa financial statement kasi it impacts heavily many businesses. 'Di ba? Ang daming nagsarado, 'di ba? Ang daming nagsarado, ang daming bumagsak, ang daming tanggal ng empleyado kasi hindi nila kaya yung expenses. So they also have to disclose the COVID-19 pandemic as an event, 'di ba? That heavily impacted the financial condition of the company. So nakakatuwa yan, 'di ba? So may gusto pa sana akong i-share na isa pang audit. Client ko din 'yon, pero ang nag-audit naman sa kanila is Punong Bayan and Arroyo, si Grant Thornton Philippines. Ayan. So this one is PricewaterhouseCoopers. So ayan, disclosure. That's why we need disclosure on the qualitative characteristics. So let me stop sharing para hindi palipat-lipat. So okay. So and then I'll present ulit. So we will discuss the last standards on reporting. So let me reshare my window. Okay. So please let me know if you can see my screen again. All right. So if you can still hear me, please press number 7. So please press number 7. All right. So nakikinig pa rin lahat. All right. So naiintindihan naman po ba ang ating discussion? Diba? So thank you for still listening kahit 1 hour na tayo. Diba? More than 1 hour na. So thank you so much. So our last standards on reporting is opinion. Ito yung pinaka-importante bilang isang auditor. Kaya pupulahin ko siya. Bakit kaya kailangan ng opinion sa sa standards on reporting? Yes, Anna Marie. Bakit kaya kailangan?
Kasi po yung pinaka-objective po ng auditor is to form an opinion po on the financial statement po. Base po yun sa mga nakuhang evidences. Tapos po, para din po ma-express din po niya clearly through written report din po yung opinion.
That's correct. So ito yung isa at pinaka-main objective ng auditor, to express or form an opinion on the financial statement as a whole, 'di ba? So tinitignan ng auditor yung financial statement as a whole, kabuuan ng financial statements, and then magre-render siya ng kanyang opinion. Ano ba yung opinion niya doon? Is that okay? Is that wrong? 'Di ba? Is that fairly presented? Is that materially misstated? So chine-check ni auditor kung okay ba talaga ang financial statement. So ngayon, i-discuss ko sa inyo yung overview ng opinion. Merong 4 na opinion na sinasabi si auditor. Una is unmodified. So unmodified opinion. Ito ang pinaka okay na opinion na binibigay ng auditor. Ang dating tawag dito sa unmodified opinion, unqualified. So unqualified opinion. Pag-aaralan natin to habang katagalan. So binibigyan ko lang kayo ng overview. Ang ikalawang klase ng opinion ay, so bumabagal lang akin yan. So kinopya ko na lang. Ayan. So ang isa naman is modified opinion. So pag sinabing modified opinion, the FS is still fairly presented. Meron nga lang portion doon, 'di ba? Na sa tingin ng auditor, hindi siya ganoon ka-fairly stated, 'di ba? Or fairly presented. So yun yung modified opinion. So meron pang pangatlo. So ang pangatlo ay adverse. Ayan, adverse opinion. So yung adverse opinion naman is para siyang negative opinion pero hindi siya ganoon ka-negative. So it's an adverse opinion. And then last one is disclaimer of opinion. So yung disclaimer of opinion, ito, opinion niya yan na hindi siya magbibigay ng opinion. Parang yun sinasabi niya, ito yung opinion ko, hindi ako magbibigay ng opinion. So nagdi-disclaim siya ng kanyang opinion. Kasi baka sobrang materially misstated nung financial statement. So pag-uusapan natin to, pag-aaralan natin ito habang tumatagal. So these are the standards on reporting. So kung kapag pinag-usapan natin standards of reporting, that is GAIDO or GIDO. So yung ibang tawag nila ACDO. So accounting principles, consistency, disclosure. Yan, so lagay ka rin dyan, disclosure and then opinion. So pareho lang rin, di ba? ACDO, GIDO. Sa general standards, TIP, technical training and proficiency, independence, professional due care. Standards of fieldwork, PI, planning, internal control consideration, evidential matter. So, ngayon napag-aralan natin yung buong generally accepted auditing standards. So, before I end this class, let me share you a video. So may i-share ako sa inyong video which I think very relevant, no? So wait lang. So kindly wait for a moment. Isa-search ko lang siya. All right. So this is a very relevant information pagdating sa ating subject. So wait lang po. All right. So form B auditor. Ayan. So hinahanap ko lang po siya. Ayan. Dito. So let me just video. So hinahanap ko lang yung video. Ayan. So let me just reshare my screen. So stop presenting ko ulit ha. And then I will present again. So if you can still hear me and you're okay with our class discussion, please press number 9. Alright. So I'm sharing my entire screen now. Ayan. So ang dami pa rin nakikinig and thank you for that. Alright. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes po.
Ito. So yung pinaka-recent, di ba, relevant, yung pag-audit ng formally. Di ba? So tignan natin. Ayan. So check natin. Kasi hindi ko lang alam kung medyo malakas ang internet connection ko ngayon, but let's see. Diba?
We can't manage work like this.
All right, so sorry for the...
To manage projects, sales, recruit.
Let's just check. Ayan, let's skip the ads. Ayan.
Formerly Pharmaceuticals Director Lincoln Ong now detained at the Senate as ordered by the Blue Ribbon Committee. Ong was cited in contempt for failing to submit several financial documents needed for the ongoing probe into the government's pandemic spending. He has also given contradicting statements in previous hearings.
So can you hear it, class?
Aside from Ong, the Senate also threatened to
Yes po, sir.
Ayan. So this is the auditor of Farmally. So her name is Ma'am Iluminada Sebian. So pakinggan natin kung ano yung pinag-uusapan dito. Check natin kung may na-violate siya sa generally accepted auditing standards natin.
For being evasive.
So let's hear it.
Changing your answer after being coached by somebody. Be careful, because you're under.
I have no documents in my possession because the documents are all in the formally.
I will recommend to the committee that we file a complaint against you in the Professional Regulatory Commission for inexcusable negligence in the performance of your duties. So I would strongly advise you that you submit all the documents that I am requesting.
Formerly Corporate Secretary and Treasurer Buhit Nargani also put on the hot seat.
So all right, class. So thank you for that. So based on the initial or a snip clip of the news, makikita ninyo na sinamon ang isang external auditor sa Senate because of a financial statement fraud or issue. So sa tingin nyo, ano kaya yung na-violate niya na standards ng auditing, yung generally accepted auditing standards? So if you can see, if we can try to check the generally accepted accounting standards na meron tayo. So I will share again my screen. Ayan, here. So ano kaya yung mga normaling na-violate niya? Kasi imagine niyo, sabi si formally daw, kakatayo pa lang. Tapos ang kanyang capital noon is nasa 100,000 lang. Tapos biglang nagkaroon siya ng billions of revenue the following year. So kung ikaw yung auditor nag-audit noon, so ano kaya yung iyong na-violate na standards dito? So upon looking the generally accepted auditing standards, anyone? Can you still hear me, class? Ano kaya yung ang kanyang na-violate? So upon looking, yung possible na na-violate niya. Yes, Nicole. Yes, Nicole. Si Nicole
Sir, yung sa disclosure po.
Disclosure, 'di ba? So disclosure, yes, it's possible, 'di ba? Kasi bakit? Bakit kaya? Kasi baka hindi mali yung kanyang disclosure dahil mali yung kanyang evidences na nag-gather or kulang yung evidences niya. So, meron siya na violate kasi lack of disclosure. Ano pa? So, aside from Nicole, yes, Erica. Ano kaya na-violate pa niya?
Yung evidential matter po.
Yes, di ba? Evidential matter. Kasi baka insufficient yung evidential matter na nag-gather niya. So, hindi niya masyadong tinignan. Nag-audit siya, pinirmahan lang niya, tapos hindi niya nakita siguro yung income, di ba? So may mga ganun kasing auditor. Bigay lang ng bigay ng pirma, hindi tinitignan yung audit, yung financial statement. Di ba? So ano pa kaya yung mga pwedeng ma-violate? So, yes, Luella.
Yung ano po sir, technical training and proficiency tsaka professional due care po.
Yes, di ba? Technical training and proficiency, professional due care kasi hindi siya maingat, di ba? Yan tuloy na summon siya. So, this is a lesson learned from us, di ba? Na kapag naging auditor tayo, we really have to check the financial statement nung client natin subject for audit. So ano pa kaya yung subject parang pwede niya ma-violate dito? Yes, Kathleen.
Yung sa independence po, since nagkaroon po ng conflict of interest kaya na-manipulate po yung financial information for personal interest po.
Yes, pwede rin yun. Tama yun. Baka nawala yung kanyang independence in mind, independence in appearance, na-persuade siya, di ba? Na-influensyahan siya. Sino pa kaya? Ano pa kaya yung pwede? So parang kung makikita niyo, parang lahat ata na natatouch, na-violate na generally accepted auditing standards. Internal control consideration. So tama rin si Rex Ree. Kasi baka hindi niya tinignan yung internal control consideration. Hindi niya kinonsider yung internal control. Hindi naman pala okay yung internal control. Tapos nagbigay siya ng opinion agad-agad, 'di ba? So, ano pa kaya? Planning, siguro kasama din yung planning, hindi siya nag-conduct ng proper planning. So, kung makikita niyo yung ginawa ko kanina, meron kaming sinet na client assistance schedule para maibigay sa amin lahat ng schedules. That will serve as our additional evidence. So, yun lang. 'Di ba? So, I hope you've learned something new with our discussion for today about generally accepted auditing standards. Then, the following meeting, magdi-discuss din tayo ng continuation nitong auditing theory, pero magdi-discuss na rin tayo ng auditing problems kasi magko-compute na tayo. So, para exciting na din yung ating, kasi feeling ko nangangati na yung mga kamay ninyo sa pagko-compute. So, naniniwala ako doon. So, thank you so much, class. And I hope that I will meet you again next week. Probably Saturday. Kung hindi, the following meeting na naman. So, thank you so much. Have a good dinner today. Class dismissed. Goodbye.
Bye po, sir. Thank you po.
Bye, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po.
Thank you, sir. Bye.